So today I'm going to do 10 movies that creep me out. They, everyone's got a different thing with horror. So everyone's always after what's the scariest horror, what's the most terrifying thing you've ever seen. It's different for everyone. So it depends what gets under your skin. For me, what gets under my skin is what you can't see. Supernatural horrors, that sort of thing, ghosts, that sort of one. That's the one that gets the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. The big Jasons, Freddys, they're just fun, I enjoy them really. I've watched them so many times. But the ones that actually, in the right setting, if you set your mood up right, either on your own or with someone who's even more scared than you are, these type of films always helps. In the dark, in the winter time, it's a bit cool in the house. Curtains are shut. No distractions going on, not on your phone, and you're just really honed in on only what's going on in these films. That's how I enjoy watching these ones, and this is what really kind of gets under my skin. Even if I don't think at the time they do, by the time it's finished, I find myself putting on all the lights in the house. And I won't normally do that when I'm walking around, but there's something that's now embedded itself in the back of my mind that's kind of giving me a bit of a creep factor. So anyway, enough rambling. Let's go on with the 10 movies that I find probably the creepiest. So this isn't a ranking video as such or anything like that. This is just 10 movies that are off the shelf there that I own, that when I watch them really do get the hairs on the back of my neck standing up and give me the creeps. So here we go. This is the first one, Sinister. So yeah, I know these aren't necessarily like hidden gems. I'll put my tea down before I spill it. So yeah, Sinister. What I'm going to do with these is just read you the blurb that comes with the IMDb database, essentially, so you can see if it sounds like something that you're interested in. So the thing that creeps me out about the most in this one, I think, is at the start of the film. Very, very mild spoilers. This isn't going to give anything away, particularly in the film. So we've got Ethan Hawke's character goes into this loft, I think it is, in this house they've just bought, and he finds all these old reels of tape. And he starts projecting these things out, and it's like starts getting really creepy about what he sees. Anyway, that's one of the first things that stands out against this film for me. Haven't seen it in a long time, admittedly, but I remember when I first watched this one, it definitely did give me the creeps. So this one's a movie about a guy who moves in with his family to a house, which has had basically some sort of crimes taken place there previously. His family doesn't know, but he does. So he begins researching the crime in hopes of writing a book about it. He examines video footage that he finds in the house to help him on his research, but he soon discovers more than he bargained for. So yeah, there's some really good scenes in this. I really enjoy this movie. So this is Sinister. So from 2012, it's a 15 certificate, and it's Sinister, an hour and 50 minutes long. But yeah, Sinister, one on my list. Now the next one, this one, I know you're either in two camps with this movie. 9 times out of 10, you either love or hate it. I love it personally, and that is all due to the circumstances in which, again, I saw it first of all. So this movie came out, I think, in 1999, roughly. Let me check that. Yeah, this movie came out in 1999. It's the Blair Witch Project. Ignore the remake or the reboot after there, but we're talking about the original one today. So this one, I would have been 15, 14, 15, something like that, depending on when it came out. 14, 15 years old, and I remember at the time, I went with a bunch of mates. It was one of our mates' birthdays, and his mum took us to the big cinema in Ipswich at the time, and we saw this thing late at night, pitch black. We were, questionably just about okay to get in. 14, 15-year-olds. We just hoped for the best. We didn't get ID'd. So yeah, we basically went in there, and I'm not even sure his mum stayed. His mum might have gone off somewhere for a coffee. But anyway, we watched this film, and at the time, again, when we were that age, me and my mates, we were always hanging around in fields and forest, like woods and stuff around the area. And we lived in places that, that was one of the things you did as a teenager back then. It wasn't, again, internet wasn't what it is today, so you didn't really sit in your house and just watch stuff on the internet all day long. But yeah, so we were kind of like related to this as soon as it started. So when this guy started making a documentary about going into this woods and exploring this Blair Witch, it already had us kind of hooked. And again, the hype around this at the time, with lacking of internet, you basically heard through the grapevine that this was potentially a true story. There was found footage, but actually found footage. That wasn't a genre necessarily as much back then. It was more of a kind of like people just telling you. And I remember going on to, I think it was a school computer in the library, and we were all just gathered around this dial-up internet connection trying to find out anything we could about whether this was true or not. And we couldn't get any conclusions. We just stumbled across all the PR for this, like not knowing it's PR at the time, about the missing people and stuff. So, you know, we went in with a bit of anticipation about this film going in. But if you don't know about this one already, 3 film students vanish after travelling into a Maryland forest to make a documentary on the local Blair Witch legend, leaving only their footage behind. So yeah, I think what gets me the most about this is probably the very last scene. And if you've seen it, you know, yeah, I just think that was probably one of the best things they did, is just to, yeah, end it where they ended it and how they ended it. I absolutely love the ending of this film. So yeah, that is the Blair Witch, another one on my list. So next on my list is a film from 1982. It's a 15 certificate, hour and 54 minutes long, and that is Poltergeist. So yep, I know, again, not necessarily a hidden gem, this one, but the type of subject or matter that they deal with in this, which is the supernatural, what you can't necessarily see, this little girl can see, supposedly, just creeps me out. So that is amazing. I think one of the first things I had a memory about these movies, because there's 3 of these plus a remake now, was when I was a very young kid. I used to have basically a drawer full of VHS that were taped off the TV when I lived with my parents, obviously being a young child. And it was full of stuff like, you know, when stuff was on TV, they'd tape things like Pete's Dragon for me, Disney movies, that sort of stuff. But also in there was something that I couldn't read as a child for the length of the word, and it didn't make any sense to me. It just had the number in Roman numerals for 2 at the end. And that turned out to be Poltergeist 2. I had no idea it was a horror movie, because obviously there was no certificates on it. It was just someone's, my mum's written Poltergeist 2 on a bit of a sticky label, basically. And I think I put that in one day as a very young kid, and it freaked me out, because that was what freaked me out the most was this guy. I'll put an image up. So yeah, this guy here, I think he haunted my dreams for the next forever. You know, it still gets me now, I'm sure. But yeah, that film, and the fact that it was all to do with about stuff that you couldn't see, and this supernatural thing, which was all quite new to me. It's one of the first times I experienced that type of horror, and it was a very young age. So when I first then saw this later on down the line, where I was a bit more age appropriate, I absolutely loved this one. Yeah, the whole creepiness. I've seen this on the big screen as well. Fantastic. But yeah, Poltergeist, again, if you don't know this one, it'd be amazing if you don't. But essentially, I'll give you the little blurb on IMDb. A family's home is haunted by a host of demonic ghosts. So yep, that's what gets me. Demonic ghosts. Poltergeist. Now, this one is slightly more of a hidden gem. So if you're really into horror, you probably do know about this one, but it isn't one that's talked about an awful lot. I know my good friend Tim Cole on his channel has spoken about this one previously before, but this one is a 2001 movie, and it is called Session 9. So yeah, I think this is a French import. It's an import of some sort. I can't remember where I got it now. But yeah, French import, I believe. And this movie here was made in 2001, 15 certificate, hour and 40 minutes long. And this one, I remember watching this one, it's a bit of a slow burn. So again, for a teenage me watching these back in the day, it still held my attention, even though it was a slow burn. The blurb on this one is: tensions rise within an asbestos cleaning crew as they work in an abandoned mental hospital with a horrific past that seems to be coming back. So yeah, lots of creepy noises, dark corridors, you know, wheelchairs that are just sort of rocking chairs that are just sort of sitting there, starting to move a little bit, and you're thinking, what is going on? Yeah, real slow burn, not a lot of flashy lights, gore, or anything like that. It is all sort of psychological. But yeah, there's something about this that just does get under your skin, because it leaves the possibility of, you know, what if potentially it could be. You know, it's nothing completely off the chart, like ridiculous in this film. But yeah, if it sounds interesting to you, Session 9, I'd recommend this one, certainly. The tea's going cold. So yeah, one I've spoken about on the channel fairly recently, and this is probably from one of my newer favourite directors out there. It's a Thai West movie called The Innkeepers. Now this one probably, whereas Session 9 I just spoke about, doesn't really have any big flashy gore or makeup effects and stuff like that going on inside it. This one does have some, so it's not quite the same sort of like flavour as the other one. But the cover doesn't do this justice, I don't think. This one I found to be quite good. Like, I really enjoyed it, and I hear that people are very torn on this movie and not really a big fan a lot of the time. I enjoyed this one, and I would recommend it if you like these type of movies about paranormal. So this one was made in 2011, 15 certificate, and it is 141 minutes. Sorry, an hour and 41 minutes, not 141 minutes. And during the final days at a Yankee Peddler Inn, the two employees, determined to reveal the hotel's haunted past, begin to experience disturbing events as old guests check in for a stay. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. A couple of creepy moments. One standout for me, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you've seen it, you'll know. When one of the employees wakes up in bed, and let's just say she might not be alone. So yeah, that was a creepy moment for me. I thought that was really good. And also when they go down into a basement, but I won't say any more. I really enjoyed this one, The Innkeepers by Ty West. So again, not particularly a hidden gem, but this movie Host, again, this one I really enjoyed. It is a sort of found footage movie, but it's basically the screen recordings as if you were part of a Zoom call or such. Obviously you don't appear on a Zoom call, but if you were watching a Zoom call unfold with lots of screens and people chatting and stuff like that, it's kind of how the whole movie is done. So this one came out in 2020, obviously famously filmed over lockdown, and a very good use of the limitations of lockdown to be able to still create something really interesting and really sort of engaging. 15 certificate, 57 minutes long, so just under an hour. So if you just want to get a very short movie in and try this out, it's not going to take up too much time. But yeah, Host, I'll give you the blurb. So 6 friends hire a medium to hold a seance via Zoom during lockdown, but they get far more than they bargained for as things go quickly wrong. So yeah, really good. So again, you get all these kind of characters on, all very natural kind of looking and feeling, and this is one of those films that when you know it's about supernatural events, your eyes in the background are just like searching everywhere behind them for things that you think maybe are moving or are there or maybe aren't there. At least mine was anyway. But yeah, I had a really good time with this one. As I say, it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's just under an hour long. If you like supernatural stuff, go for this one. Give it a try. I really enjoy it. So next on my list is The Changeling. Now, I was very late to the party on this one. This movie was made in 1980. It comes as a 15 certificate on the Blu-ray, and it is an hour and 47 minutes long. Yeah, I only watched this very recently, maybe in the last year. To be honest, the cover didn't do a massive amount for me, or any time I've ever seen it on this or on DVD or anywhere else. So I've kind of just left it on the back burner for years and years, but I've kind of regret doing it. Watched this one quite recently. I had a good time with this one. Again, creepy. It's kind of what you can't see and the sort of strange noises going on in the house. Let me get you the blurb on this one. This is: after experiencing tragic personal losses, a music professor rents a Seattle mansion haunted by a slain boy. So yeah, there's kind of like, a ball bouncing down the stairs on its own and stuff like that with no one at the top of the stairs. All that kind of creepiness is all going on in this movie. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd highly recommend checking this one out as well. Changeling. So next on my list is a movie, again, quite new to me. It is The Borderlands. I picked this one up this summer, I think it was. Watched it in my sort of cinema system. So it came out in 2013, 15 certificate, hour and 29 minutes long. And this one, I'm sure, I've spoken about this on the channel before, so if you watch my channel quite a lot, you would have already heard me talk about this one. But this one is: a team of Vatican investigators descend upon a church in a remote area to demystify the unusual happenings. But what they discover is more disturbing than they first imagined. So again, a bit more like a found footage movie, this one. So people, these priests have essentially got these video cameras strapped to their heads, like little GoPros and things, and on their arms, chest, that sort of thing. And then they've got them all set up around this church, which this basically this priest at the church has essentially claimed to have witnessed or experienced a miracle in that church. Now, the church have been sent in to investigate whether this is true, or whether it's more likely that he's kind of fudging some facts there just to try and get some attention locally in for his church group, for people to turn up a bit more. But yeah, these guys are basically going in there just to try and see whether there is anything going on, or whether they think he's just making it all up for a bit of publicity. But I really enjoyed this one again. So this one is one that you're constantly just looking in the background. You're hearing noises and stuff in the speakers, and you're thinking, what is happening? But it sticks kind of like quite close to reality. So there's not really a lot of, there's no like, nothing running around the screen and stuff like that, or any sort of monsters jumping out necessarily. Noises, what you can't see, all that good stuff that I like in these type of movies. So yeah, that is The Borderlands. So next on my list is, again, as another well-known classic one, and that is Paranormal Activity. So from 2007, 15 certificate, hour and 26 minutes long, so it's not going to take up all night. This movie, now this is one that I sort of like alluded to at the start. I'll give you the quick premise anyway, just to make sure if anyone hasn't seen it, they can know what it's about. So after moving into a suburban home, a couple becomes increasingly disturbed by a nightly demonic presence. So this was one that I saw as quite young, probably like mid-teens, late teens to be fair. And I remember being still at my parents' house, living there, and they'd gone away. And I think I was the only one in the house. I was left on the house on my own. It wasn't, you know, it had like creaky floorboards in the house and stuff like that. We hadn't been in that house that long either, so it's quite a new house. And I remember sticking this on one night, you know, set the scene right for myself, waited till it was dark. It was winter time, curtains were drawn, surround system going, TV's on loud, you know, and I sat there, creeped myself out with this. There's all sorts of bangs and noise going on, that's you know, chandeliers swinging in the background that you just kind of like just out of nowhere, all that sort of stuff. Everything that really gets me sort of like under my skin and really gets my hairs on my neck going. Um, and I sat there as like as a teenage boy would, going to myself, it's not scary, not creepy, you know, it's not affecting me. Um, had an amazing time all the way through this, absolutely loved it. And then I realised as soon as it finished and I had to turn the TV off, and it was sort of like the whole place I was sitting went plunged into darkness. I was hitting those light switches like as quick as anything, just thinking like I need to get some lights on now. Like, yeah, it's not terrified me, but yeah, I was in denial. I was in denial. This one does creep me out. It did creep me out. It still does a good job of it today as well. So yeah, if you haven't seen this one, I do highly recommend this. It is kind of again found footage, so it's all done by this kind of like guy's camera he picks up from a store. And he's just trying to show like his girlfriend or his wife, I can't think who it is now, trying to set up cameras to try and capture these like strange noises and things they keep hearing around their house, and strange occurrences they keep finding. So yeah, I love this film. Like I say, what you don't see is probably a lot scarier than what you can see, and that is definitely what you get with this film. Okay, so the last movie on my list of 10 paranormal slash scary creepy movies for me personally is a movie that's again fairly well known, I suppose, now in the horror community. But if you're just dabbling in horror a bit more and you're not in that community so much, you may never have heard of it. So this one is Lake Mungo. So this one was notoriously hard to always get and find before Second Sight put it out on this lovely box set. So Lake Mungo was made in 2008, 15 certificate, hour and 27 minutes long. I'll get you the blurb because I will probably butcher trying to explain what's going on in this film. So strange things start happening after a girl is found drowned in a lake. That doesn't give a lot away. So again, I believe this is kind of found footage from memory, so lots of camcorder shots and stuff like that. What I would say with this film is, if you start this film and you get to a certain point, something's revealed. Now, something gets revealed which you either go with it or you don't go with it. And I'd highly recommend you just stick with the rest of the film. And I can't tell you why until you've watched it and see the end. But yeah, there is potentially a moment in this film which could turn a lot of people away, I think. But I stuck with it, and I'm so glad I stuck with it, because you kind of like, you think you understand what's going on at a certain point in this film, and you might not have understood what's going on, is all I'd say, right until you get to the end. So if you like creepy, weird, paranormal stuff, definitely one I would say check out. It's probably a slightly lesser known one than some of the others on this list. So yeah, Lake Mungo, I would definitely give that one a try. So that is it. That is 10 movies from my own personal collection that get the hairs on the back of my neck standing up and creep me out. What are your 10 movies, or just a few movies that really creep you out? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.